School, which is the only original building here on this side of the property. The high school was built in 1919. Was a high school up until 1940. The last class graduated in 1940. And after that, it was used as an elementary school till the late 60s. And then over the last 36 years, we have brought in several historic buildings, mostly from the immediate area, and restored them. And we have augmented this setup with some buildings that we recreated. When we do recreations of buildings, we always try to keep them in the style of the late 1800s, early 1900s, and sometimes it's hard to discern which is an original building and which is a recreation. Our barn, for example, over there, that's a total recreation. We did an old-fashioned barn raising and actually built that structure from scratch. They brought the lumber in for the structure. They brought a little sawmill in, milled the lumber here on site, and then literally raised the barn on site. So we're going to go inside.
So where are you from? It smells like a school.
What we're trying to do here, one of our missions is to educate today's school children about their history and how life was in the late 1800s, early 1900s. The timeline that we have set ourselves here at the settlement runs from about 1860, 1870 to 1910, 1920. And most of the buildings that you will see as we go through are from that time period. Like I said, we've recreated some structures, but the majority of the buildings are from that time period. Telling them that there wasn't just one grade in a room. There could have been 2 or 3 grades in a room. When I went to elementary school, we had a 2-room school. I was grade 1 through 4 was in one room, and grade 5 through 8 was in the other room.
Supposed to be turned around facing the wall, ain't it?
We got our spring garden in up there where the springs are. You got some leaves and trees. And then the family got together and literally bought the old cabin back from the new developer and then donated it to the settlement. So we sent a group of volunteers up there with a couple of flatbed trucks, and they took the old cabin apart and logged everything and cataloged everything, and then brought it down here, and then they had a big jigsaw puzzle on their hands trying to put it back together to adulthood. And all of their children, except the young lady here in white, she was the youngest, were born in this cabin. And he was able to give 100 acres of land to each of his children on their wedding day. So he did quite well for himself. Our quarters house. because it's reminiscent of living quarters that you would have found in, let's say, a turpentine camp or a logging camp. Some of them quite temporary housing.
Newspaper insulation on the walls.
And in order to move the prisoners from work site to work site, they were housed in those cages. That one there, I think, has 3 compartments with 2 bunks each, so there were 6 men plus a guard. And this thing would have been sitting on a flatbed wagon and horse-drawn from side to side.
What was your crime?
Talking back to the guy.